Page 18, 2 lines from the top of the page. We continue our discussion of yesterday. We juxtapose the three festivals, Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot. And we explain that in Pesach there are 7 days period. So someone who cannot, for some reason, bring the offering on Pesach, then you can go for Tashlumim, which is a redress, and you can go ahead and give it later. The question is, since Shavuot in Eretz Israel it's 1 day, how you can pay later? We need to find a psukim, sources, to prove that Tashlumim can go the same as Pesach and Sukkot. 2 lines from the top of page 18. וריש לקיש אמר, וחג הקציר, the Torah said in the book of Shmot, book of Exodus, chapter 23, Chag HaKatzir, the festival of harvest, so he takes it kipshuto, the way it's written. זהו חג שאתה חוגג וקוצר בו. Give me an example of festival that you celebrate and harvest. Havei Omer ze atzeret. You have to go by the festival of Shavuot, which is, that's the beginning of the period of harvesting. Eimat, when exactly you do it? Ileima biyom tov ktsira biyom tov mishari. You tell me that you do it in a festival day itself. Harvesting permits on the festival itself. Ela letashlumim, but you have to say that this is for redress, right? For the paying later. So therefore, we said, Amar Rabbi Yochanan ela me'ata. So we challenged that. And we said it's written Chag Asif. Zeu Chag sheyesh bo aseifa. The festival of gathering. Give me an example of festival that is gathering. Havei Omer ze Chag HaSukkot. That's the festival of Sukkot. Eimat, when you gather the field. Ilayma biyom tov. Melacha biyom tov mi shari. If you tell me that that's doing the festival. Festival, doing work, who told you that it's permitted? The Tosfot, both here and in Tractate Moued Katan, page 12b, they both said what exactly the prohibition of doing work, what exactly part of the 39 type of work that involve here by collecting the harvest. So the Rashash and also here the Turei Even said that that's melechet me'amer, that which means assembling some food from the place that they are grow. Ela bechulo shel moed, chulo shel moed mi shari. Do we allow to do work during the intermediate day? We said, since we explained that this is a Lord Tosfot here, Tosfot said that it's debate, since we said that it's rabbinic, the idea of not doing work on Chol HaMoed. So therefore, since it's asmachtaf, since it's indirect source from other psukim, so therefore it can be that one pasuk, one line, Chag Asif, allow it. The truth is that many of the early sages disputed and they hold that it's biblical. The Oraita, the idea of doing work. The Minchat Chinuch in Reish Lamed Bet, Minchat Chinuch is a well important halachic book. In chapter 232, he asked a question of Lifnei Iver. The Torah said that you should not put a stumbling block before a blind person. So the question is, he said that when it's come to a putting a stumbling block, can be physical, that someone is blind and you're placing before a blind person a stumbling block. but it's also can be a spiritual, meaning that when you are mislead people in their spiritual life, meaning the way that they're observing God, you mislead them, then you are basically in a violation of Lifnei Iver. It's biblical. There are yeshitot, there are those who hold that even people did not violate it, but just that placing a stumbling block, it's already a isur. Anyway, so they said, Ela, Chag. You have to say that when you talk about Chag Asif in gathering, Chag Haba Bizman Aseifa. This is the festival that occurred during the time of gathering. So in that sense, Hachaname, in our context too, which is Chag HaKatzir, Chag Haba Bizman Ktsira. This is the festival that occurred during the time of harvesting. So in general, we call Zman Aseifa, the time that we ingather, including the next day. So you do not have a proof from here that Chogegim Shekotzrim Befoal, that you celebrate when you are physically cutting the harvest. Michlal de Travayu Svira Lehu. It means that what Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish both hold, the chulo shel moed asu ba'asiyat melacha, that during the intermediate festival day we are prohibited to doing work by the Torah law. So this Gemarrah said menahane mile. From where you have this proof? The Tanu Rabbanan. We learn in Torah, Book of Shmot, Exodus chapter 23. Et Chag HaMatzot Tishmor Shiv'at Yamim. You should observe the festival of the Matzot, the Passover, 7 days. Limed al chulo shel moed she'asu ba'asiyat melacha divrei Rabbi Yoshaya. Rabbi Yoshaya hold that this is a clear source that during the intermediate day of festival you cannot perform any work. Rabbi Yonatan אומר, אינו צריך קל וחומר. ומה ראשון ושביעי שאין קדושה לפניהם ולאחריהם, אסור בעשיית מלאכה. חולו של מועד שיש קדושה לפניהם ולאחריהם, אינו דין שיהיה אסור בעשיית מלאכה. You learn it from the basic of קל וחומר, which is the lenient and the strong one. If the first and the 7th day of Pesach, that you don't have the sanctity of the festival before, because the eve of the first day of Pesach, which means the day preceding after the first day of Pesach, it's not a festival day, and it's also before and after the 7th day of Pesach, and even all of that said, it's still prohibited from doing work. It's considering a Yom Tov, a festival. So the intermediate days that you have Kedusha, you have sanctity before, which is the first day of Pesach, and after, which is the last day of Pesach, how much so that it will be the performance of labor should be prohibited. So we rejected that. We said, Sheshet Yemei Bereshit Yochichu, the 6 days of creation, which means the day of the weeks, shall prove it. Why? Sheyesh Kedusha Lifnehen U'Le'acheren, because each and every week you have the Shabbat before and after, Umutarim Ba'asiyat Melacha, they're allowed to perform work. The same manner we said in regards to Chol HaMoed, that even we have sanctity before and after, it's still not a reason to prohibit them from doing work. So the Gemara rejected that notion, and they said, "Ma leshesh timed bereshit sheyesh she'en b'hem korban musaf because we don't have an additional offering in a regular weekly day, so therefore they are not prohibited from doing work. תאמר בחולו של מועד שיש בו קורבן מוסף. So since we cannot compare the intermediate day to a regular day of the week, so therefore we back to a קל וחומר the way it was. So the Gemara said ראש חודש יוכיח. How about the beginning of the month? שיש בו קורבן מוסף, that even they have an additional offering, ומותר בעשיית מלאכה. You're allowed to do work. So it means don't ask for intermediate day, that you're allowed to do work. And again, this קל וחומר is back. So he said, מה לראש חודש שאין קרוי מקרא קודש? We learn ראש חודש that it's not considering מקרא קודש, the holy convocation. So therefore you're allowed to do work. תאמר בחולו של מועד שקרוי מקרא קודש. You said in regard to an intermediate day that it's called a holy convocation, והאיקרי in Leviticus 23, that we allowed to do work, הואיל וקרוי מקרא קודש, דין הוא שאסור בעשיית מלאכה. Since they are called a holy convocation, so it is logical that the performance of labor should be prohibited on them. So you derive from that the intermediate day, you cannot do any type of work. From this, קל וחומר, from the first and the seventh day of Pesach. Tanya idach, we learn in the next Braita. It's written in the Torah, Leviticus 23, כל מלאכת עבודה לא תעשו. You shall do no kind of laborious work. So the next one we learn, שבעת ימים תקריבו אישה, רש"י said. לימד על חולו של מועד שאסור בעשיית מלאכה. We learn from that intermediate days of festival, according to Rabbi Yossi that we cannot do work. That's basically applied to the festival of Sukkot, and the idea of Shivat Yamim, the 7 days, it's the first Yom Tov, and then the following consecutively 6 days of the Sukkot. That's the way Rashi tells us. So Rabbi Akiva Omer אינו צריך. Why? הרי הוא אומר, because it's written in Leviticus 23, אלה מועדי השם מקראי קודש. What does that mean מקראי קודש? במה הכתוב מדבר? אם בראשון, הרי כבר נאמר, if you talk about the first day of Sukkot, so it was written in Leviticus 23, שבתון. The first day is שבתון. ואם בשמיני, הרי כבר נאמר שבתון. אין הכתוב מדבר, אלא בחולו של מועד, ללמדך שאסור בעשיית מלאכה. So it means that this is the source, it's prohibited to do work. תניא אידך, 6 ימים תאכל מצות, וביום השביעי עצרת להשם. The Torah said in Deuteronomy chapter 16, 6 days you shall eat unleavened bread, and on the 7th day there shall be a solemn assembly for the Lord your God. On it you shall not do work. Mashvi'i Atzur, the same idea is that the 7 days of the festival is precluded from the performance of labor. Af sheshet yamim atzurim. So it means hekish echad lasheni. It's comparing one to another, but you cannot do work. So Rashi said in a second explanation, the first one he said atzeret can be in gathering, aseifa, assembly of people. But here he said atzeret is the atzira. You avoid yourself from doing work. That's the second explanation of Rashi. I mashvi'i atzur bechol melacha, only דבר העבד, אף ששת ימים עצורים בכל מלאכה, תלמוד לומר או ביום השביעי עצרת. השביעי עצור בכל מלאכה, ואין 6 ימים עצורים בכל מלאכה. So that applies specifically the 7th day alone, it precludes from the performing of all the labor, but other 6 days are not precluded from performing of labor, but only from certain form of work. So you derive from that. לא מסרן הכתוב אלא לחכמים. So I'm now using my book on Rashi. Rashi said here, כלומר, מאחר שאמר לך הכתוב שהן עצורים ממלאכה ולא בכולם, ולא פירש איזו המותרת ואיזו אסורה, דאו ראה שלא מסרן אלא לחכמים. So Rashi here based is also, you see it, big machlokit in poskim, Tosfot, Rosh, and Rambam. Rashi wants to say that this is the beauty of the power of the wisdom of the sages, that they can make al-pi hariyah, they can make by the sending these emissaries, and they see the time of the festival, and therefore since they make a decision when is the festival, when is the intermediate day, it means that they don't depend upon just the psukim. So that's the special power in the sense that the sages said. There is another avenue. Whatever the Torah did not specify what is prohibited, what is not, it left it in the hand of the sages to make those decisions. לא מסרן הכתוב אלא לחכמים, לומר לך, so the Torah does not specify which type of work are prohibited, so therefore it give to a sages exclusively to tell us איזה יום, which is the festival day asur, prohibited from doing work, ואיזה יום מותר, and which day is permitted. איזו מלאכה אסורה, what type of work is prohibited, ואיזו מלאכה מותרת, and which labor is permitted. So because they know how to differentiate between, for example, melechet davar aved, something that involved with a loss, or versus something that's not. So this is the special power exclusively left for the Rabbanan, for the Seder. The concluding part of the Mishnah saying umutarin be'esped v'ta'anit. The Mishnah said that they're allowed to do eulogy and fast on the day of the slaughter. That's Yom Tvach. שלא לקיים את דברי האומרים עצרת לאחר השבת. In order not to follow those who said that, like the Sadducees, that the עצרת, this festival of Shavuot, must always occur after Shabbat. The Sadducees said, that we learned it many times, וספרתם לכם ממחרת השבת. So they said מחרת השבת is Bereshit, and they said is a setup, that the עצרת has to be always Sunday. והתניא ומעשה ומת אלכסה בלוד. It's a story about a fellow named Alexa. Alexa is from the Greek name that most probably it's short for Alexander. So he passed, ונכנסו כל ישראל לסוף דור. And they all came to gather to give a eulogy. ולא הניחם רבי טרפון מפני שאותו יום טוב של עצרת היה. And Rabbi Tarfon will not allow them to do it. Why? Because it was the festival day of Shavuot. So they thought that they're allowed to do eulogy that day, because it's the day of offering. And Rabbi Tarfon prohibited it. So it means that Rabbi Tarfon is against the Mishnah that allowed to do eulogy on the day of slaughtering of Shavuot. So the Gemarrah said, Lo kashya. It's not a question. Can here in our Braita, Biyom Tov, the festival of Shavuot, שחל להיות אחר השבת. So if it occurred after Shabbat, so the day of slaughtering was not Sunday, but not any other day of the week. So you don't have the concern that the Sadducees will say that this is the first day of Shavuot, because they say that the Shavuot has to be always on Sunday. So it means that they're not allowed to do eulogy. So therefore, Rabbi Dr. will not let them. Kan biyom tov shechal liyot b'Shabbat. But here they speak about the festival of Shavuot that occurred on Shabbat. So therefore, the day of slaughtering will be the following day, which is Sunday. And in order to avoid us from thinking as the Sadducees that the festival of Shavuot always, mimachorat Shabbat, always has to be Sunday, so purposely they allowed to do eulogy in order for everyone to understand that that's not a festival. So if it's Tuesday, it's Atzeret. If it's a Wednesday, it's only tashlumin, it's only a compensation, redress only. Now, the truth is, many of the Mefarshim ask, if you go aliba the Beit Hillel, it's Ein Yom Tevoach. According to Beit Hillel, there is no such a day of slaughtering. Why? Because if you tell me that this Braita speaks about Shavuot that occurred at the middle of the week, so how the Braita used the word Yom Tevoach, the day of slaughtering? Because according to Beit Hillel that we follow the halacha, in these days, it's not one of the day of the compensation that it's called Yom Tevoach, because you can bring the offering with the festival itself. Only when Shavuot occurred on Shabbat, then the first day of the compensation of a redress is Yom Tevoach, because this is the first day that you can bring the offering of the festival. So the Yad David, you see it also in the Tosfot Reed explain that it is true that the first day of the compensation it's called Yom Tevoach, even Shavuot not occurred on Shabbat. Why? Because many people brought their offering at that day, and the reason is because many people could not make it to bring the offering at the festival because it's only one day. So therefore they brought it afterward. So either it's because the main idea of offering after festival occurred on the following day, which was Sunday, and it was only one day, and since they rushed to go back to their home, didn't want to delay in Yerushalayim, so therefore the sages instituted that the first day of the compensation of a redress prohibited from eulogy and fast. The truth is that there were Aviyah brought in Taf Vav 806. So he said that you cannot do eulogy or fast day the entire day of Tashlumim, the entire day of the redress after Shavuot, and that's also the Bet Yosef in already Ataf Aleph. So the Or HaChaim in Kuf Lamed Aleph said that's the reason when you look at Rabbi Mordechai Genut's book, Luach Davar B'ito, it's a Hasidic rabbi that made a Vizhnitzer Chassid. He made a big book. It's called the Calendar, the Luach, with all the beautiful explanations and Yotzaidim and things like that. So he mentioned that because of that, after the festival of Shavuot, there are some communities that do not say Tachnun, do not say supplication, the consecutively 7 days after the Shavuot, because it's considering the day of Tashlumim, day of the redress, the compensation that following Shavuot. Now the truth is, here is the end of the Tractate Chagigah. From the next Mishnah and onward, we're going to deal with Hilchot, Tum'ot and Taharot. Yet the Rashi tells us, so you see the Rashi here, he said that it's still somehow some connection to Hagigah, because it's the idea that people are very strict during the festival to be careful with the Tumah and Tahara, and that's the real idea that is some connection to this tractate. Just some words of introduction before 18b, before the Mishnah. There are some concept of Chumrot de Rabbanan, stringencies that the rabbis put some restrictions. Here we have 3 bavot, 3 sections of this Mishnah. Here, as we said, that Rashi tells us that it's somehow connected to the festival. We're dealing with level of ritual impurity. Some introduction. Every aspect of ritual impurity depend upon the level. There is I call it always grandfather, father, son, and grandson and great-grandson. The forefather, avi avot hatum'ah, the highest level of the tum'ah, applies to a corpse. Corpse, that's the highest, grandfather. Then the next generation, the next level, it's called av hatum'ah, someone who attached to avi avot. And in our language is like contagious. It carry, rendering ritual impurity to the next one. The next level, if someone attached to av hatum'ah, to the second category, it's rishon letum'ah. This is already the third one. And if any food attached to that, it's called sheni letum'ah. Now, we explained that there are 3 different sections in the Mishnah. One, it's called tum'at yadayim, which means that, biblically speaking, we're talking in the Torah in a general body. Rabbinically speaking, it can be part of the body, not the whole body. So, if someone touch with his hand, or if someone wants, for example, to eat bread, as you know, he needs to wash his hand. That's rabbinic. So, example of ritual impurity of hands. If someone touch avatumah, not avi avot, but avatumah, which we explained that is the second category. So he is called rishon letumah. Why is that? Because it's the biblical concept that the whole body become ritually impure, and only by ducking himself in a mikveh he can be purified. Or the sages instituted, if someone touch a sacred cloth, sacred parchment, so like Sefer Torah or Megillah scroll, so his hand rendering ritual impurity. So the Gemara in Tractate Chagigah, page 14, if you remember, said that it's because we are prohibited from touching the Sefer Torah without having any type of partition between the hand and the Sefer Torah. It's like the honor of the Sefer Torah in order to avoid ruining the Sefer Torah. So in order to strengthen that, the sages put an institution that it's called tum'at yadayim, that hand, the touch needs to wash it.
Is there any difference between Megillat Esther and the other Megillot? Because
in general,
of the fact that it doesn't have
the
name of Hashem?
God, so it's much lenient.
So it's less, okay. So there is a difference between that and the other Megillot.
Yes.
But then like a machzor or a mezuzah or from for tefillin, the cloth from
we said many times that we have a different levels.
Okay.
The Sefer Torah is the highest.
Right.
But back to the subject is the idea that the Oraita, biblically speaking, is no such a thing part of the body. It's either the whole body or not. Pure or impure. The idea of yadayim, of hands, is Rabbanan. Nogea bavlad. So here we go for 5 levels, which is chulin, which is unconsecrated item that doesn't carry any sanctity. Ma'aser sheni, the second tie that you isolated from other corpse and you bring it in a certain years and the owner eats it in Yerushalayim. Then we have the truma, the contribution that you take from the field, from the produce and eaten by the Kohanim. and then you have a kodesh, the sanctity, which is the offering, and then chatat, which is the water that you combine with the ashes of the red heifer, in order to sprinkle from them on a person or on a vessel, that if they contact with the ritual impurity of a corpse, in order to purify that. So in general, we're talking always in gradation, in different level of sanctity. So the first part tells us, notlim layadayim. So the first part applied to washing hands. Lechulim, which means only ochel, only lechem. Ulemaaser velitruma, which means it's enough to wash hands. You pour each hand, and you don't need to duck the hands. So that's the idea, that yadayim shniyot. Ule kodesh, for example, if you have the peace offering that eaten by everyone, or a sin or guilt offering that eaten by the kohanim, matbilim, you pour the hand in a mikveh and they have 40 se'ah. Ule chatat, im nitmeu yadav, nitma gufo. So we explain that the chatat is the highest level, that because this is water that's sanctified with the ashes of the red heifer, in order to sprinkle on the people who contact the corpse. So if touch with his hand, then the entire body needs to be dug. So that's basically like every regular tvila regila for a person who is ritually impure. So the reisha, the first level, this first clause, have 3 levels. And the highest level is chatat, the sin offering, that you require the entire body. Then we go to the second part, which called kavanat hatvila. Tava lechulin, huchzak lechulin. So Rashi tells us, ועוד זו מעלה, תבע לחולין, הוחזק לחולין, כלומר נתכוון לטבול לשם חולין. So it means that הוחזק לחולין, it's not the din, but it's continuation of the situation, which is he intend to purify himself for the unconsecrated item by ducking himself. אסור למעשר, הוחזק לשון כוונה, she said, כלומר נתכוון להעמיד גופו בחזקת טהור לחולין. So the tovel intent by ducking himself that his body will be בחזקת טהרה. So you cannot use the second type, מעשר שני, for that ducking. So that's again, it's rabbinic chumrah, is a stringency by rabbi, because biblically speaking, the one who duck himself in a mikveh, he is pure even if he's not intent to do it. For example, someone just have a fun to swim or to go to mikveh. So, and he doesn't intend to purify himself. By ducking himself, it's already become pure. So you see here a different level of gradation. They said here, tava למעשר, הוחזק למעשר, אסור לתרומה. תבה לתרומה, הוחזק לתרומה, אסור לקודש. תבה לקודש, הוחזק לקודש, אסור לחטאת. So you see here this level of gradation. But he said, תבל לחמור, מותר לקל. So they said, if one immerse to eat a food in a stringent category, it's permitted to eat food in a lenient one. Taval velo huchzak, another principle. One who immersed without the intention to assume a presumptive status of ritual purity, one who immersed but did not intend to purify himself, כאילו לא טבל. So it's considering like he's not duck himself at all. Now we go to the third level, which called taharat gadim, bigdei am haaretz. So the garment of someone who's not careful with regard to the law of ritual impurity. Midras lifrushim, they consider impure by treating of a zav, because they are more stringent. Midras, we said many times, is like drisa, that when a person sit, wait on that, like he lay on that, or he sit on that, or and if it's like a mattress, etc. So the midras is av, and one who attach can continue on to a adam en kelim. בגדי פרושים מדרס לאוכלי תרומה, בגדי אוכלי תרומה מדרס לקודש, בגדי קודש מדרס לחטאת. Now we go to a certain story. The Mishnah goes now to people who are very scrupulous with the law, and even with all their level of stringencies, we said still that in a certain category, even you cannot go that direction. So you see several examples. First example is Yosef ben Yoezer haya chasid shebakehuna. Yosef ben Yoezer is an example of extreme pious person of the priesthood family, that he was a nasi, the most highest scholar in his generation. He was very careful from all the ritual impurities. Ve'haita mitpachto, yet his clothes was considered pure. Why? Midras lekodesh, by treaty. So sometimes he put it on and he sit on that. Yochanan ben Gudgeda haya ochel al taharat hakodesh kol yamav. So he was so careful that he was eaten all non-sacred food while following the law of ritual impurity for sacrificial food all his days. והייתה מתפחתו מדרס לחטאת. But with all of that said, still his clothes was considered impure by treating of the zav for those who preparing purification of water. Which again, that when it's come to halacha, is no exceptions. Even people who are so wise and righteous, etc., that you don't even worry about their scrupulousness and carefulness. They still, Meiri said that they still carry this ritual impurity if it's above the darga, the level that they observe. So now the Gemara tells us, since we learned in the Mishnah that we have to wash hands for the purpose of non-sacred food and a second tithe and truma, chulinu maaser sheni mibao netilat yadayim. You tell me that the non-sacred food and tithe indeed require washing hands. Ve'amini, we learn in the Mishnah in Tractate Bikurim, the second chapter, hatruma, the contribution, ve'habikurim, abikurim, it's considering it trumat yadecha, the Torah said in Deuteronomy 12, which means that that's the Gemara in Makot 17 said that that's applied to the first fruit. So we basically compare the two, the bikurim and truma. Chayavim alehem, if someone is zar that eat the meizid intentionally, mita, which is bidei shamayim. The Torah said in Vayikra 22, umetu bo ki yechalelu, and then it's written v'chol zar lo yochal kodesh. So it means that this mita b'dei shamayim, Rashi said. V'chomesh, so if zar eat them unintentionally, so he have to have an addition of fifth. And they said ve'asur lezarim, is prohibited for people who are not kohanim. Ve'nichsei kohen, they are property of the kohen. So as a result, a kohen can purchase anything he wishes with them and betroth the woman with them. For example, ve'olin be'echad b'mea, and they are nullified only with a mixture that contain 101 times and their amount, וטעונים נטילת ידיים, the required washing the hands, והערב שמש, and the setting of the sun before they can eat, which means that an impure Kohen who is immersed at the proper time must still wait for the sun to set before he is fit to eat them. הרי אלו, this law applies בתרומה וביקורים, for truma and the first fruit, מה שאין כן במעשר, it's not in type. וכל שכן בחולין, and all the more so for the non-sacred food, קשיא ממעשר המעשר, קשיא החולין החולין. So you see here that you have a difficult, the halacha that we said about the tithe, said in the Bikurim, contradict the halacha of tithe taught in the Mishnah, and the same is the halacha of the chulin, of the non-sacred food, is contradicted the halacha applicable to non-sacred food stated in the Mishnah. So he said, Bishla ma'aser ama'aser lo kashya. Granted, if you talk about the tithe as opposed to other law regard to tithe, it's not difficult. Why? Ha-Rabbi Meir, Ha-Rabbanan. The Mishnah in Bikurim, he followed the Rabbi Meir, and the other one followed the sages. Ditnan, we learn in Tractate Para, in the Mishnah, chapter 11, Mishnah number 5. Kol ha'ta'un bi'at mayim, anything that require immersion in water. This is the idea of mikveh by rabbinic law, midivrei sofrim. So biblically speaking, is pure. The sages put him a decree that he is ritually impure, and that level it's considering second level. Metame et hakodesh uposel et hatruma. So I explained in my book, Rashi said here, metame et hakodesh, klomar נתנו עליהם טומאת שני לטומאה, והשני מטמא את הקודש להיות קרוי טמא. So Rashi here the problem, according to Rabbi Meir, we don't know what's the definition of bi'at mayim by the rabbinic. So he said you have to say that by the rabbinic is the sheni letumah. So therefore, if someone touched it, it became third and a fourth. That's basically, I elaborate on that Rashi. So the idea is that the sages put the second level of Tumah. So if he touch a sacred one, is the third one, and he make the invalid the Truma, it became the third one, but he's not making the fourth one. So it's only Truma, only posel, mutar lecholin v'maaser, because the sheni, the second one, and not making impurity of the non-sacred in the second tithe, so you cannot say that. Therefore, the only way to explain it is that the Mishnah in the Bikurim exempt from the Tilat Yadayim for the second tithe follow Rabbi Meir, and our Mishnah that required washing hand is follow the sages. Ela chulin achulin kashya, because we don't find any Tana that require netilat yadayim for the chulin lo kasha kan ba'achila kan benegi'ah. So the Chazon Ish explained in Tractate Yadayim that when it's come to negi'ah, it's applied specifically for food and not drink. Matkif la Rav Shimi bar Ashi. Ad kan lo pligi Rabbanan o leidi Rabbi Meir, ela ba'achila de ma'aser. So Rav Shimi strongly objected this, and he said the rabbis disagree with Rabbi Meir only with regard to eating tithe, but with regard to touching tithes and eating non-sacred food, they not disagree with him. So therefore the Gemara resolution of the difficulty with regard to non-sacred food is not acceptable. So he said, עד כאן לא פליגי רבנן לרבי מאיר אלא באכילה דמעשר, ובכלל בהנגיעה דמעשר ולא חולין לא פליגי. Ela idi v'idi, so the Gemara give the tiruts, the explanation in different direction. Both Mishnayot ba'achila, both of them speaks about food. Velo kasha, and it's not a contradiction, kan ba'achila den nahama, one speak about eating bread that you have to wash your hands even בחולין. כאן in our Mishnah in Tractate ביקורים באכילת דפירי, which means eating fruits. ואמר רב נחמן כל הנוטל ידיו לפירות הרגל זה מגסי הרוח. He said that someone who's became so strict that he washed himself for he washed his hands for fruit is act of a haughty of spirit, because he showed himself to be more particular than required by the sages. So that's the Mishnah Berurah rule in Kuf Nun Chet 158. He says that מראה עצמו כמדקדק במצוות יותר משורת הדין. He showed himself that he is so particular, so scrupulous, more than the law require him. So the truth is, when it's come to Pesach, when it's a karpas, so it's a davar שטיבו לו במשתק, so we do wash hands. But here it's a general statement.
ויחם לשולוים מלאכי השולוים מלאכי